Welcome to Halloween Spectacular. Ed Ryan here with my wife Rain. We're going to keep you company this Friday afternoon, day before Halloween, by performing or reading and singing the Rocky Horror Picture Show. So I hope you're getting ready at home for it. This is an interactive movie where people used to throw things in the theater. We're not in the theater, but you can throw whatever you want to throw in your living room.
Like a party or a fit.
It's not
okay.
gonna bother me, and I don't have to clean it up. So do what you like to do for the Rocky Horror Picture Show. I'm going to try to explain the characters and a little bit about the movie before we go into it, so that I don't have to keep stopping the script to introduce a new character. Okay, so if you've never seen the movie before, then you're officially what's called a virgin.
Yes.
And even doesn't matter how old you are,
Yes.
you can say it out loud right now. If you've never seen the movie, say, "I'm a virgin." Say it right now. We can't say it because
no.
we've seen
I'm
it
definitely not.
many times this week just to get rid of this. And I'll tell you really quickly what it's about.
Yes,
The Rocky
I'm
Horror
going to jump on
Okay.
and get online to try to
say hello
say
stuff.
hellos real quick so that we'll get
And,
everything set up.
Here's what the story is. Rocky Horror Picture Show was a stage play in London, and it was put on in the early 70s. The music is based on some of the late 50s, early 60s music, because it's a put-on of B horror movies. Those old bad movies where something would happen to the heroine and the hero, and they'd have to go to a bad place, and there would be weird people waiting there for them, and then sinister things would happen within a castle. And that's exactly what happens in this story. Really quickly, I'll give you a rundown of the characters. We've got your an all-American couple, Brad and Janet. They're in college, they met in high school, and they are now in, well, you'll see, they didn't get engaged in the very first scene, it's no big deal. And then they're going to go visit their scientist friend, Dr. Scott, who is in a wheelchair, and he's got a German accent. That you'll find out because every bad horror movie has to have a guy with a German accent.
And he has to be a scientist.
He must be a scientist. So on their way, they break down and they have to seek refuge in the rain at the only place they can see that has a light, and it's a castle. Okay, the castle is the house of the following characters. Frank N. Furter is the lead guy in the castle. It's a play on Frankenstein, so it's Dr. Frank N. Furter, if you will, and he is an alien. He comes from another planet along with his butler and the butler's sister, his two henchmen, as it were, Riff Raff and Magenta. Frank N. Furter is like Dr. Frankenstein. He's creating a man, but he's not creating a man for science. He's creating a man for himself, because he's a sexual being and everything he does is about sex. So he's making a beautiful man that he can marry, basically. Now he's got his henchman Riff Raff, who's a hunchback with the long stringy hair. We kind of have a replica, somewhat, of a Riff Raff type in the background there. He's actually played by the guy who co-wrote this play and all the music.
And he kind of looks like
Richard O'Brien. So he's the hunchback, and he's the butler, and he takes care of all the needs. And his sister is Magenta, and she's the maid, and she's got that voice like this. She does, because you have to have one of those. If you have a Boris, you have to have a Natasha, don't you?
It makes it
we already
fun.
had a Boris in a wheelchair, now we have to have Natasha as a maid. She talks like that. She's Magenta, and her brother Riff Raff talks like this. I'm saying all this now because in case later I don't have to keep saying, and then Riff Raff says, and then Magenta says. If I put on a little bit of voice, maybe I can make some scenes go faster. So Riff Raff talks like that, like an Igor would, but he's Riff Raff, and he's quirky, he's kind of cool, he's a little bit sexy, but he's very scary.
At the same time.
And then again, now their boss is Frank N. Furter, and they come up from a planet called Transsexual in the galaxy called Transylvania, and Frank is a transvestite. So that all makes sense. That's where you get the song Sweet Transvestite from Transsexual Transylvania. Okay, when they come to the house, the part of the castle, to try to get some help, there's a party going on, and it's because Frank is finally Frank N. Furter, we'll call him Frank throughout the show, and he's going to show everybody, his partiers, which are all also aliens, his new creation. Okay, and then we'll see I don't want to tell too much about the story, but I'm setting you up. The other characters, the two more characters you need to know, well, three. One is Columbia, she is a human. She's a human girl who gets sucked into that kind of like a fan of
Or a
Frank-N-Furter, like a cult who gets sucked into. And she was at one time Frank's lover. He loves men and women, and then she also started dating somebody else who's in another character called Eddie. First of all, Columbia, she's got a really squeaky voice, and she's kind of wacky and kooky, and with a short pixie haircut, and she tap dances. We'll find that out during the time warp. So Eddie is another human, and he was a delivery boy, and he also got sucked into the cult, as it were, and became Frank's lover first, and then Columbia's. So he also likes both.
Very much.
When we meet Eddie, he has a gash across his head because he is now the experiment upon which the new creature, Rocky Horror, that's the last character you need to know. Rocky Horror is the monster, quote unquote. He's not a monster, he's a creature, whatever he built him out of. But he's beautiful. He's looks like a bodybuilder, and he's wearing nothing but a little gold bathing suit, bikini
Shiny.
bathing suit. So Eddie, they use Eddie's brain to split between to create Rocky. They don't explain that too much in the movie. That's why I'm saying it now, so then we can move things along later. But I think I've given you enough. You've got Brad and Janet. Then you've got, at the castle, you got Frank-N-Furter and his two hench persons, brother and sister team of Riff Raff and Magenta. You've got Columbia, who's like a hanger-on, and she, she's swept into the sexual thing. Eddie, who is he's played by Meatloaf, the actual singer Meatloaf, which is apropos if you know what happens to Eddie's character later in the story.
Okay.
But anyway, I don't want to give too much away. And then you've got Rocky Horror. He is the creature. Other than that, there are some people that they call the conventionists, because they're having their annual Transylvania convention at the castle the day that the story takes place. And I think that's everything you need to know. Not yet.
Give me 1 second.
You need time. Rain is trying to set up the what do you call it? Meanwhile, thank you for joining us, and I hope you have fun. Just have a lot of fun with this. We're going to get, just have fun. You'll see a lot of kooky things. We got a lot of props set up that we're going to play and have fun with. And of course, it is a Friday. It's a happy hour. So if you're out there and you've got a cold one, here's to you. So I think I'm going to start up.
Okay.
Okay? The way the movie starts, before I start reading the script, is the very first song. You have to have an introductory song, kind of like an overture. And the overture is not performed by a person per se. It's performed by a giant pair of lips. And so in order to get that going, this is some colored chapstick.
Yes, they usually have bright red lips. Beautiful lips, by the way, that in the movie.
And we'll see how this works. That's right, folks. We're going all out.
We're taking you on a ride.
So,
a spooky
we present
ride.
the Rocky Horror. Hold on. Picture show.
Michael Rennie was ill the day the earth stood still, but he told us where we stand. And Flash Gordon was there in silver underwear, but Reigns was the invisible man. Then something went wrong for Fay Ray and King Kong. They got caught in a celluloid jam. Then at a deadly pace, it came from outer space. And this is how the message ran. Science fiction, ooh, double feature, ooh, Dr. X, ooh, will build a creature, ooh, see androids fighting, oh, Brad and Janet, oh, and Francis stars. the late night double feature picture show. I know Leo G. Carroll was over a barrel winter and Chinook took to the hills. And I really got hot when I saw Jeanette Scott fight the gibbet that spits poison and kills. Dana Andrews said prunes gave him maroons, and passing them used lots of skill. And when worlds collide, said George Pal to his bride, I'm gonna give you some terrible thrills, like science fiction, oh, double feature, oh, Dr. X, oh, will build a creature, oh, see androids fighting, Brad and Janet, oh, and Francis stars in Forbidden Planet. At the late night double feature picture show, I wanna go. To the late night double feature picture show by RKO. To the late night double feature picture show in the back row. To the late night double feature picture show.
And then the lips fade. Let me get my script here. May I? Or am I keeping this on? Am I keeping this stuff on?
You want it?
Not so much.
Okay, tissue.
Maybe a little bit. It's a little too much. All right, so there's your opening bit.
They were saying it was the wrong shade, but
Gosh, Jesus. Perfectionists. Oh, well, then you're going to hate the rest of the show.
tune out
Because I
now.
sound like nobody. All right. Thank you for that. All right. Now, you'll have to forgive me, but I cannot read.
Let's just have some fun. Oh,
Without
make sure
glasses.
it's not on your teeth.
Yeah, it wasn't the first shot.
It was,
That's all right.
yeah.
That's all right. All right. Off we go, people. The lips fade into the background as we dissolve to a cross on the spire of the Denton Episcopalian Church. A wedding party is emerging from the church. The young married couple, Ralph and Betty Hapshat, they exit the church followed by a crowd of friends and well-wishers, throwing confetti and shouting excitedly. It's gonna be like that, is it? And shouting excitedly.
Woo!
Two photographers stand near the church. Here they come. And the photographer waves his hand, summoning the family together for a picture. And the parents, the grandparents, that's right, all close together. Good, good. Ralph and Betty pose on the steps of the church among their family. They pose for the photograph. Brad Majors, a young, slightly awkward, clean-cut American in his mid-20s, comes over to congratulate Ralph. Brad and Ralph shake hands. Hey, Ralph. And Ralph says, well, I guess we really did it, huh? Gives him the old arm punch, and Brad punches it back and goes, I don't think there's any doubt about that. You and Betty have been almost inseparable since you met in Dr. Scott's refresher courses. Ralph says, well, to tell you the truth, Brad, that was the only reason I showed up in the first place. Betty says, okay, you guys, this is it. Are you ready? Ralph says, hey, Brad, Betty's going to throw the bouquet. Betty, the bride, throws the bouquet, and who should catch it? But Janet. Janet catches and squeals with delight. squeal, like a squeal, and says, "I've got it, I've got it."
I've got it. I've got
There
it.
you go. That good squealing.
Hey.
The guests cheer. Ralph says, "Hey, big fella, looks like it could be your turn next, eh?" Brad says, "Who knows?" "Well, so long, Brad." And as he says that, a car pulls into the scene. It's their honeymoon car, and on the side is spray painted, well, not spray painted, but in whipped cream it says, "Wait until tonight. She got hers, now he'll get his." Wah, wah, wah. "Okay, so long." The car pulls in. They all, "Come on, Betty, we better get going now. Hop in." Betty hops into the car, and the guests begin to chant, "Hapshat, hapshat, rah, rah, rah. Hapshat, hapshat, rah, rah, rah. See you, Brad. Hapshat, hapshat, rah, rah, rah." The guests run after the car, waving and taking pictures. Janet and Brad linger outside the church. So does a strange family. An old man with a pitchfork and his wife and daughter. They resemble the Quaker family in the American Gothic painting. But they're really the characters I described earlier. It's really Riff Raff, Magenta, and Columbia, with a little bit of Frank-N-Furter, but not too much. You'll have to see it. But what's going to happen is when Brad starts singing a song, which is going to happen in a minute, those people, they're like breaking down the church. They like work for the church, and they're very somber. They're going to sing the background vocals that you'll hear, the words Janet and "Oh Brad" and all that kind of stuff. Anyway, let me get back to the story. That's them hanging out. Brad and Janet are lingering outside, and Janet, who's holding the coat, says, "Oh, Brad, wasn't it wonderful? Didn't Betty look radiantly beautiful? Oh, I can't believe that an hour ago she was just plain old Betty Monroe, and now she's Mrs. Ralph Hapshat." Oh. Brad, still looking after the car, says, "Yes, Janet, Ralph's a lucky guy." And they start walking through the church graveyard. Janet says, "Yes." And Brad, you can see there's something on his mind, and he's hesitant as he's talking. He says, "Everyone knows Betty's a wonderful little cook." She says, "Yes." "Why, Ralph himself, he'll be in line for a promotion in a year or two." She says, "Yes." They stop in front of a sign that says, "Denton, the home of happiness." And Brad turns with great decision, and he turns to Janet, and he sings this song. He says, "Hey, Janet." "Yes, Brad?" "I've got something to say." "Uh-huh." "I really love the skillful way you beat the other girls to the bride's bouquet. The river was deep, but I swam it. Janet, the future is ours, so let's plan it. Janet, so please don't tell me to can it. Janet, there's one thing to say, and that's damn it. Janet, I love you. The road was wrong, but I ran it. Janet, there's a fire in my heart, and you fan it. Janet, if there's one fool for you, then I am it. Janet, now there's one thing to say, and that's damn it. Janet, I love you. Then he gets on the stage. Here's a ring to prove that I'm no joker. There's 3 ways that love can grow. That's good, bad, or mediocre. O-J-A-N-E-T, I love you so. Uh-oh. Now Janet bursts into the church wearing the ring, and now she sings, "Oh, this is nicer than what Betty Monroe had." "Oh, Brad, now we're engaged, and I'm so glad." "Oh, Brad, that you met Mom and you know Dad." "Oh, Brad, one thing to say, and that's Brad, I'm mad for you too." "Oh, Brad," Brad says, "oh, damn it." They're walking up the aisle. "I'm mad," he says, "oh, Janet, for you, I love you too. There's one thing left to do, and that's go see the man who began it. Janet, when we met in his science examen. Janet made me give you the eye and then pat it. Janet, now there's one thing to say, and that's damn it. Janet, I love you. Janet, Janet, oh Brad, I'm mad, damn it. Janet, I love you. And they kiss, and the scene cuts. Right at the end of that kiss, let me get to my page. There we go. Where is it? Brad and Janet kiss. There we go. Now, they cross above the church. They stayed on it, and it splits optically, revealing the interior of a study at night. A mahogany bookcase, a large desk with a prominent globe of the world. A prominent globe of the world. Just so you know. There is a well-padded armchair, and it has its back to the camera. It swings around. I'm sorry. What's going on?
I was waiting.
I don't know. Nothing to say. No, I got nothing to say. And as the chair swivels back round, I'm supposed to have no neck. There we go. We reveal the narrator. The narrator is going to tell you what's going on in this stupid story. And he says, I would like to, if I may, take you on a strange journey. He crosses to the bookshelf and he selects a dossier. The title is called The Denton Affair. He turns toward the camera, opening the dossier, and we see photographs of the Ralph and Betty wedding. He stops at a photograph of Brad. It seems a fairly ordinary night when Brad Majors and his fiancée, Janet Weiss, turns the page, you see her picture, two ordinary, young, healthy kids, left Denton that late November evening to visit a Dr. Everett Scott, ex-tutor and now friend to them both. Now it's true, there were dark storm clouds, heavy, black and pendulous, toward which they were driving. It's true also that the spare tire they were carrying was badly in need of some air. But they, being normal kids and on a night out, well, they were not going to let a little storm spoil the events of their evening. On a night out. It was a night out they would remember for a very long time. Lightning. The widescreen, we cut to the exterior of a country road at night. There's a windshield wiper going furiously under the strain of the rain. The torrential rain is on the windshield. Brad is concentrating on his visibility. Janet is reading a newspaper and ignoring the Richard Nixon resignation speech, which makes the night of this somewhere in August of 1974, just so you know. So that's when this story takes place. Barely audible from the car radio. We pick up on the phrase, I have never been a quitter. I have never been a quitter. To leave office before my term was completed is aberrant to every instinct in my body. But as president, I must put the interests of America first. America needs a full-time president and a full-time Congress, particularly at this time. Now, as he's talking, all of a sudden a motorcyclist comes from the opposite direction, speeding in this hard rain. Vroom, vroom. Janet says, gosh, that's the third motorcyclist that's passed us. They sure do take their lives in their hands, what with this weather and all. Yes, Janet, life's pretty cheap for that type. She raises her bar of chocolate and takes a bite and chews it. I'm stepping on stuff, sorry. And Brad says, oh, shoot. He goes, what's the matter, darling? They suddenly see that they're at a dead end. How did that happen? We just saw motorcycles coming from the other end. He says, we must have taken the wrong turn a few miles back. Janet says, but where did that motorcyclist come from? Brad says, well, I guess we'll just have to turn back. He reverses the car, they start going back, and all of a sudden the back tire explodes. Pop, bang. Janet says, what was that bang? And Brad says, we must have a blowout. Damn it. I knew I should have gotten that spare tire fixed. Well, you just stay here and keep warm, and I'll go for help. Janet says, well, where would you go? We're in the middle of nowhere. Brad pauses and says, didn't we pass a castle back down the road a few miles? Dun-dun-dun-dun. Maybe they have a telephone we can use. Janet starts to unbuckle her seatbelt. I'm going with you. Oh, no, darling. There's no sense in both of us getting wet. I'm coming with you. She unbuckles her seatbelt. Brad turns off the ignition. She says, besides, darling, the owner of that phone might be a beautiful woman, and you might never come back again. Brad laughs and gets out of the car. Janet puts the newspaper over her head and follows him out. Exterior of the road at night. Brad kicks the flat tire, angry, and Brad and Janet approach a tree. As they do, lightning strikes the tree. Oh! They keep walking. They cut to when they're outside the castle gate. They're walking in the rain, and you just hear this. This is going on, and it's raining very, 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 very hard. Maybe not that hard, but it's raining very, very hard. They stop at the castle gate. They read a sign on the gate. It says, "Enter at your own risk." Just as they see it, a bolt of lightning strikes, lighting up the sign. You see the castle. The castle is an enormous castle. It has got, let me tell you a little bit about the castle before we go in. It's got at least 4 levels, if not 5, before you get to the laboratory that is on the top level. So at least 4 flights of stairs in the interior that go around with a circular open in the middle that has an elevator. There's an elevator shaft that runs in the center of all the floor landings throughout the castle. And it's one of those old elevators that's got the gate in the front that you have to pull and lock before it goes anywhere. All right, that's enough.
Part of its charm. You're in it.
Okay, as they approach the castle, inside the gate, the rain pours off the newspaper down Janet's face. She walks forward, collides with a tree branch, then continues forwards as she sings. In the velvet darkness of the blackest night, burning bright, there's a guiding star. No matter what, who you are. They both sing. There's a light over at the Frankenstein place. There's a light burning in the fireplace. There's a light in the darkness of everybody's life. Now I'm going to add a verse that's not in the movie. This is one Brad sings as they're still approaching the castle in the pouring rain, looking at the lights. I can see the flag fly, I can see the rain, just the same. There has got to be something better here for you and me. There's a light over at the Frankenstein place. There's a light burning in the fireplace. There's a light in the darkness of everybody's life. Now as they approach a little further, we see way up in the light in the top tower of the castle, the spooky figure of Riffraff through the storm and the rain. And Riffraff sings as he sees them approaching. Darkness must go down the river of night streaming. Flow, Morpheus, slow, let the sun and light come streaming into my life, into my life. There's a light over at the Frankenstein place. There's a light burning in the fireplace. The narrator is in his armchair, and he leans forward. And so it seems that fortune had smiled on Brad and Janet, and that they had found the assistance that their plight required. Or had they? That down? We cut to the front door of the castle. At night, Brad and Janet approach the front door. She lowers the newspaper from her head. He takes off his glasses and wipes them with his handkerchief. Oh, Brad, let's go back. I'm cold and I'm frightened. Just a moment, Janet. They may have a telephone. He puts on his glasses and he presses the doorbell. Brr, brr, brr. It's a really weird, noisy doorbell. We see the door open and a hand, and it reveals to be Riff Raff, the hunchback with the bald head and the long, long hair. And in the background, you hear voices, like a party's going on. In the distance. The figure we've seen in the window emerges. He is the hunchback servant, Riff Raff. He says, "Hello." Brad says, "Hi, my name is Brad Majors. This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss. I wonder if you might help us. You see, our car broke down a few miles up the road. Do you have a phone we might use?" Riff Raff just stares and he says, "You're wet." Janet says, "Yes, it's raining." Brad says, "Yes," and Riff Raff says, "Yes." Just then, a bolt of lightning lights up the grounds, and they all turn, and Brad and Janet can see the row of motorcycles parked outside the door. And he reacts to them. Riff Raff says, "Perhaps you better come inside, both of you." Janet says, "Oh, you're too kind." He gives a look to Brad, and they both go into this. Now, it's the front entrance of the hall of the Frankenstein Castle. Riff Raff beckons them to follow. We hear music getting louder. There's as if there's a big party in a big room somewhere on this floor. Janet says, "Oh, Brad, I'm frightened. What kind of place is this?" Brad says, "Oh, don't worry, Janet. It's probably just some kind of hunting lodge for rich weirdos." Janet says, "Oh," and then Riff Raff slams the door behind them and says, "This way." As Riff Raff walks forward, below the staircase we find Magenta, the other servant. She is revealed on the stairs, laying against the banister, holding a feather duster. Janet says, "Are you having a party?" Riff Raff says, "You've arrived on a very special night. It's one of the master's affairs." She says, "Oh, lucky him." And Magenta rises and says, "You're lucky, he's lucky, I'm lucky, we're all lucky." And she throws the duster to Riff Raff, who catches it and then goes, the music starts as she says that. It's the music for the time warp is starting. Before they start, he goes over to a coffin-shaped clock. You see the clock in the face is at the face of a coffin. And as he goes to dust it, it strikes midnight. The thing opens up and there's a skeleton in it. And then he starts the song. This is the song called The Time Warp. I have to explain what happens during it before I can start doing it. Riff Raff is going to start singing about it, and Magenta, and as they do, they move them forward into the ballroom where it is revealed the Transylvanian Convention. There's a big banner that says this, and a whole bunch of oddly dressed weirdos, all in black with these crazy masks and feathers and glasses and all this kind of stuff. And they are the Transylvanians, and they are having a party. And part of their party is doing the time warp. So when they burst into the room, everybody's doing the time warp, which is a dance. We'll also be introduced by a character named Columbia. She's the one with the squeaky voice, and you know, well, you'll hear about it. She tells a little bit about herself and then does a tap dance. If you want to tap dance at home, feel free to.
Mom?
The rest of it, it starts like this. She says, "You're lucky, I'm lucky, we're all lucky." She throws him the duster and he does. It's astounding, early, time is fleeting. Madness takes its toll. But listen closely, not for very much longer. I've got to keep control. And he starts singing, "I will who says to everyone, it's just a jump to the left. And then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips and bring your knees in tight. When it's the pelvic thrust that really drives you insane. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. And Magenta sings, oh, it's so dreamy. Oh, fantasy dreamy. So you can't see me. No, not at all. In another dimension, with voyeuristic intention, well secluded, I see all. You look into the mind flip. You're into the time slip. And nothing will ever be the same. You're spaced out on sensation, like you're under sedation. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. Columbia sings. Well, I was walking down the street just having a think, when the snake of a guy gave me an evil wink. He shook me out, he took me by surprise. He had a pickup truck and a devil's eye. He stared at me and I felt the change. Time meant nothing, never would again. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. It's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips and bring your knees in tight. But it's the pelvic thrust that really drives you insane. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. Stop there. Well, let's do the time warp again. Oh, let's do the time warp again. It's just a jump to the left and then a step to the right. Put your hands on your hips and bring your knees in tight. But it's the pelvic thrust that really drives you insane. Let's do the time warp again. Let's do the time warp again. One more time. Let's do the time warp again. Woo, woo, woo. Let's do the time warp again. And with that, all the guests fall to the floor. And then there's just silence. And they're left. Brad and Janet are standing there looking at each other. And there's just all this silence. They're laying on the floor. And where am I? Okay, I gotta skip ahead. There we go. All the guests fall to the floor. Janet nudges Brad. She says, say something. Brad goes, say! And everybody sits up all at once. So, huh? And he says, do any of you guys know how to Madison? And they all just, and they look at each other like, what the hell is this guy talking about? Janet starts pulling Brad back toward the door. Brad, please, let's get out of here. Oh, for God's sake, Janet, please get a grip on yourself. But it seems so unhealthy here. It's just a party, Janet. Now behind them, as they're backing up, the elevator slowly descends, bearing a figure in a black cloak and stiletto heels. It's Frank and Furter. All you see is the foot tapping in time to the rhythm. Where's my rhythm? There it is. And as they're backing toward the elevator, as you see it coming down behind them, Janet says, well, I want to go. She goes, well, we can't go anywhere until I get to a phone. Well, then ask the butler or someone. Just a moment, Janet. We don't want to interfere with their celebration. We don't want to interfere with their celebrations, he says. She goes, well, this isn't the Junior Chamber of Commerce, Brad. Listen, Janet, they're probably foreigners with ways different than their own. They may do some more folk dancing. She says, look, I'm cold, I'm wet, and I'm just plain scared. Janet looks at the elevator. She turns toward the camera and reacts. Brad says, I'm here, Janet. There's nothing to worry about. The guests rise. They start climbing. They start walking toward the elevator, mumbling and ohing and ahhing. Janet turns around. She sees the shoe. She looks up at the face of the person wearing that shoe. She puts her hand to her head and screams. The camera zooms in on Frankenfurter's face, and he said, how'd you do, I? See you met my faithful handyman. He's just a little brought down, 'cause when you knocked, he thought you were the candy man. Don't get strung out by the way I look. Don't judge a book by its cover. I'm not much of a man by the light of day, but by night I'm one hell of a lover. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. Let me show you around, maybe play with sound. You look like you're both pretty groovy. Or if you want something visual that's not too abysmal, we can take in an old Steve Reeves movie. Brad says, I'm glad we caught you at home. Can we use your phone? We're both in a bit of a hurry. Right. We'll just stay where we are, then go back to the car. We don't want to be any hurry. Frank sings, where you got caught with a flat. Well, how about that? Eyebrow, babies, don't you panic. By the light of the night, when it all seems alright, I'll get you a satanic mechanic. I'm just a sweet transvestite, sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. So why don't you stay for the night? Or maybe a bite. I can show you my favorite obsession. I've been making a man with blonde hair and a tan. He's good for relieving my tension. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. I'm just a sweet transvestite from transsexual Transylvania. So, come up to the lab and see what's on the slab. I see you shiver with anticipation. But maybe the rain isn't really to blame, so I'll remove the cause, but not the symptom. And with that, Frank rises up the elevator again to applause and rapture. Oh, everybody! He's inviting everyone up to the laboratory to see what's on the slaboratory.
The slaboratory.
Is that what that's short for? Slab?
Yeah,
Short for
slaboratory, like you
slaboratory?
said.
I thought so. Okay, the guests applaud ecstatically. Riff Raff and Magenta close in on Brad and Janet. They remove Brad and Janet's wet clothes. Riff Raff rubs Janet's hair with a bloody towel. Oh, thank you. Then she sees it's bloody and throws it to the floor. Magenta dusts Brad off with her apron. Then she moves behind him, starts taking off his jacket. She says, oh, thank you very much. Then Riff Raff puts his arms around Janet, starts doing her belt. He's like, oh, Brad. Brad says, it's all right, Janet. We'll play along for now. And then just as Magenta is undoing his fly and pulling his pants down, he says, we'll play along for now and pull out the aces when the time is right. And then the pants drop. As they're undressing them, Columbia says, oh, slowly, it's too nice a job to rush. She puts out her hand to Brad. Brad holds his hand out to shake hers, but Magenta's pulling his sweater off, so he really barely gets with. Hi, my name is Brad Majors. This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss. And then Magenta unbuttons Brad's shirt, takes it off, and throws it over Columbia's arms. He says, "And you are?" She says, "You are very lucky to be invited up to Frank's laboratory. Some people would give their right arm for the privilege." Brad says, "People like you, maybe?" She says, "Ha! I've seen it," and then throws their clothes all over the place. And just as before they can pick them up, Magenta and Riff Raff rush them out the door. Now they're standing. Brad's just in his tighty whities and shoes, I think, for whatever reason, and Janet is just in a bra and slip. And that's what we're talking about. Now they get them on the elevator. Riff Raff is standing outside the elevator drinking champagne out of a bottle while holding one glass of champagne. Magenta says, "Shift it!" Get moving on. They all get in the elevator. He drops the bottle of champagne, smashing it, gets on the elevator with just the glass. They're all smushed in the elevator as it goes up. Janet says to Magenta, "Is he, Frank, is he your husband?" Riff Raff says, Magenta laughs, and Riff Raff says, "The master is not yet married, nor do I think he ever will be. We are simply his servants." Janet says, "Oh," and the elevator grinds to a halt. They have arrived at the laboratory. Now, the laboratory is a large room. It looks like something between a student observation operating theater and a Greek gymnasium. Look at that yet. This Greek gymnasium. It's pink tiled throughout, and there's a chandelier that hangs high above. What's on what you'd call a stage is a large red velvet covering, blanket over a large tank. Looks like a giant fish tank, but it's just covered with red. And as they pull up and look into the laboratory, we've got all the guests. Now there's 2 floors. There's a ramp up each side of the laboratory, so you can actually stand on top like a theater, like an operating theater, so you can watch down. So all the guests are up on the ramps, and in front of the, standing in front of it all is Frank Infurter, as is. And as they get off the elevator, they go out to arrive. And he's dressed in a surgeon's outfit, stands in the middle of the room. Riff Raff gets out of the elevator first with a glass of champagne that he hands to Frank. Frank says, "Magenta, Columbia, go and assist Riff Raff." And as they do, they walk away from Brad and Jen. He goes, "I will entertain..." And as he approaches him, Brad says, he says, "I'm Brad Majors. This is my fiancée, Janet Weiss." She says, "Weiss? Weiss?" He takes Janet's hand and he kisses it. He says, "Oh, enchanté. Very nice." Janet giggles. Frank circles them. He says, "Well, and what charming underclothes you both have." He takes 2 white coats from Riff Raff and hands them to Brad. He says, "But here, put these on. They'll make you feel less vulnerable." The gallery laughs. People in the gallery laugh. Frank and Janet and Brad button up their coats. Frank says, "It's not often we receive visitors here, let alone offer them hospitality." Brad gets angry, says, "Hospitality? All we wanted was to use your telephone, goddammit! A reasonable request which you've chosen to ignore." Janet says, "Brad, don't be ungrateful." "Ungrateful?" Brad angrily whips off his glasses. The room falls silent. All eyes are on Frank, waiting for his reaction. A smile breaks on his face. "How forceful you are, Brad. Such a perfect specimen of manhood. So dominant." And they all giggle. A woman takes her glasses off to get a better look, and Brad closes his robe, as it were. Frank says, "You must be awfully proud of him, Janet." She says, "Well, yes I am." Frank laughs. He goes, "Have you any tattoos, Brad?" She says, "Certainly not." He goes, "Oh well." To Janet, "How about you?" She goes, "Oh, no, his charm is working on her." Sorry. Janet laughs. Riff Raff approaches behind Frank, looming over his shoulder. He says, "Everything is in readiness, master. We merely await your word." Frank drinks the champagne, hands Riff Raff the empty glass. Riff Raff goes to the control panel, and Frank to the podium. Frank is now standing at the podium between Magenta and Columbia, who both wear masks, and he takes the microphone. He says, "Tonight, my unconventional conventionists." And they all laughed at his bad joke. "You are to witness a new breakthrough in biochemical research. and paradise is to be mine. And they all clap up.
Wonderful.
It was strange the way it happened. Suddenly you get a break. All the pieces seem to fit into place. And what a sucker you've been. What a fool. The answer was there all the time. It took a small accident to make it happen. An accident! Accident. Yes. That is how I discovered the secret. That elusive ingredient. That spark. That is the breath of life. I have that knowledge. I hold the secret to life itself. Brad pulls Janet toward him. He stops her from clapping. She gets all upset. She's like, hey, what are you doing? Offstage, the guests continue to applaud. Okay, they go back to Frank. He moves to the tank, followed by Magenta and Columbia. You see, you are fortunate, for tonight is the night that my beautiful creature is destined to be born. Everybody applauds. They rattle and whistle and cheer. Magenta, standing at the far end of the tank, stops clapping. Frank turns to face the tank. The men stop waving their rattles, and a drum roll begins. You can do that at home. That's a rattle. A drum roll begins. You can do that at home. Magenta and Columbia bend down to the red covering over the tank, and then begin taking it off. And Frank says, "Huzzah!" And they reveal it. It's a giant tank, like I said, a fish tank, with a figure of a man floating in it, all bandaged up from head to toe, including his face, everything, like a mummy. Bandaged up, head to toe, all wrapped up, floating in some sort of chemical liquid in this tank. And everyone, oh, oohs and ahs, what are they looking at? And Frank points toward Riff Raff and says, "Throw open the switches on the sonic oscillator." Oscillator, there's no K there. Oscar, oscillator. Riff Raff flicks the switch to activate the oscilloscopes in the panel. Frank says, "And step up the reactor power input. 3 more points." Riff Raff presses a button 3 times. Each time it begins to unwind a wheel. Each time lights flash on, off when he does, and then he begins to take a wheel. He starts rolling this wheel. Let me do this for a second. He starts rubbing this wheel, and the lights go on and off and start flicking on and off and going crazy. And where am I now? They ooh and ah, blah, 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 blah. He presses it. Janet and Brad are bathed in brilliant light. Janet raises her arms to shield her eyes. She clings to Brad. He looks from Janet up to the chandelier. The chandelier starts lowering as he's doing the wheel. It lowers and lowers over the tank. It's a round chandelier with all sorts of crazy colors on it. Very different rows of colors. And Frank raises his arms up and laughs, continues with the wheel. He gets the wheel down on it. He starts turning these knobs on it. As he does, each color comes down, pouring out like a liquid into the tank. The red, the green, the blue, the orange. It all keeps going. It starts circling, and the liquids are now mixing in with the chemicals in the tank. And Frank, everyone's going crazy. The tension is rising. Everyone's, that kind of thing. I don't know how to describe it. They keep cutting in on people. Oh, it's the big tension. He's creating the monster. So he starts turning all these things. All the stuff comes in. And just then, a hand starts to move inside the tank. And everybody, they're like, whoa! And the figure begins to move, and he stands up. And I'm sorry, I forgot to tell you that before he started moving, you could see a skeleton form inside the wraps as the liquids are going in. You just see, all of a sudden, this skeleton and all that's crazy. And then he moves, and he cuts up, and he stands up, and he's just standing there like that. He's still covered head to toe in bandages, and everyone applauds, and they each get on each side of him. Riff Raff does, and Frank does, and they pull off the mask to reveal that he's beautiful. And of course, Frankfurter looks at him and says, "Oh, Rocky!" in a wonderful way. Now what happens here is another song. I'm going to explain it to you. This is Rocky, the creature. He's going to sing a song, which, by the way, is the only time he speaks in the movie. He's not a talking monster, but he does sing. So how does that work? As he's revealed, he's still bandaged up from neck to toe. The head comes off, and the first thing he's seeing, he's a newborn baby, as it were. and he doesn't know what's going on, and he grabs the chandelier above him, just as Riff Raff is raising it, you know, trying to put it back in place. So he starts rising, and he's seeing this whole crazy scene. He starts singing this song. During the song, all Frank wants to do is get his hands on Rocky. He just wants to touch him, feel him, squeeze him, whatever. But he can't get near him. He's confused. He's running around the room talking to the guests, you know, singing this song to the guests as he moves, because every time he turns around, Frank is right behind him, and he's running away from him. He's scared of him. So that this whole, it becomes comical. The whole song is Rocky trying to get away from Frank while singing this song. And meanwhile, everyone else then starts getting into the song and singing along with it. It's called The Sword of Damocles. It goes like this. With the sword of Damocles is hanging over my head, and I've got the feeling someone's gonna be cutting the thread. Oh, woe is me, my life is a misery. Oh, and can't you see that I am at the start of a pretty big downer? I woke up this morning with a start and I fell out of bed. That ain't no crime. And left from my dream is this feeling unnameable dread. That ain't no crime. My high is low. I'm dressed up with no place to go. And all I know is I'm at the start of a pretty big downer. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. No, no. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. No, no. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. As they're doing this, the next verse, they start unwrapping his body, like taking the bandages off, as he spins out of it like a mummy. And Frank still can't get his hands on him, so now by the end of the song, he's just wearing the skimpy little bathing suit. Frank is out of his mind, he wants to sing. He said, "The sword of Damocles is hanging over my head, that ain't no crime. And I've got the feeling someone's gonna be cutting the thread, that ain't no crime. Oh, woe is me, my life is a misery. Oh, can't you see that I am at the start of a pretty big downer? Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. No, no. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no, 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 no. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. Everybody sing. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. Sha-la-la-la, that ain't no crime. Sha-la-la. Let me take a second here. I haven't had a sip of water or anything. Whew. Let me break character.
Breaking the wall, breaking the wall. I gotta put my glasses on so I see what I'm doing.
So that's the song that Rocky sings. It's not even on the album. They didn't even, when they put out the soundtrack album, they cut this song out of it.
Poor Rocky.
So he doesn't talk in the movie, but he sings this one song, and then they cut it out of the album. So the Sword of Damocles, at the end of the song, Rocky has come full circle. He's run around. Went up the ramp and down the ramp in between the, in between the guests, and Frank's chasing them all over. At the very end, Rocky ends up back in the tank where he was born. That's where he ends up back, because he doesn't know where to go. And the song ends there, and Frank shows his disappointment in Rocky for behaving like this. And he says, "Where are we? Oh, where's my glasses?" All right. So Frank says, "Well, really, Rocky, that is no way to behave on your first day out." Rocky looks very hurt, and Frank clasps his leg because he's sitting on this thing. He's up high, and he touches his leg. He goes, "Oh, well, but since you're such an exceptional beauty, I'm prepared to forgive you." And Rocky says, "Oh," and everybody applauds. Everyone's very happy that he's going to forgive him. Frank says, "Oh, I just love success." Riff Raff says, "He is a credit to your genius, master." He says, "Yes." Magenta says, "A triumph of your will." Frank says, "Yes." Columbia says, "He's okay."
My favorite.
Okay? He grabs him by the hand. Okay? Grabs Rocky by the hand and drags him over to Brad and Janet. Says, "I think we can do better than okay. Come here." "Well, Brad and Janet, what do you think of him?" And Janet says, "Well," and then looks at Brad and says, "I don't like men with too many muscles." And the guests laugh at that. Frank says, I didn't make him for you. And he grabs Rocky and leads him away. He says, he carries the Charles Atlas seal of approval, and wheels out the gifts. They uncover a gallery of gifts that are all weights. It's all free weights and whatever the jumping horse with the vaulting horse, that kind of thing. They wheel out all this gym equipment for Rocky, and Frank sings this song to him. And I promised I would tune before the next song, because I do care. Thank you for joining us today.
Hope everyone's having fun.
I hope I'm doing okay in describing things. This is a lot of... Ray's got all this stuff. Oh my God!
So I
it's
missed
so
a few cues already.
That's all right. It's not the worst. We only rehearsed it once,
Well,
and barely. But it's fun. I hope you're having fun at home.
Yes, we really hope you're enjoying this.
Okay, so Frank sings this song about Rocky after they break out all the gym equipment. He says, a weakling, weighing 98 pounds, will get sand in his face when kicked to the ground, and soon in the gym, with a determined chin, the sweat from his pores as he works for his cause will make him glisten and gleam, and with massage and just a little bit of steam, he'll be pink and quite clean. He'll be a strong man. Oh, honey, but the wrong man. He'll eat nutritious, high protein, swallow raw eggs, try to build up his shoulders, his chest, arms, and legs. Such an effort if he only knew of my plan. 'Cause in just 7 days I can make you a man. He'll do press-ups and chin-ups, do the snatch, clean and jerk. He thinks dynamic tension must be hard work. Such strenuous living I just don't understand. When in just 7 days, oh baby, I can make you a man. Now, just as he's getting into it, just as Rocky's getting into this, and Frank is getting into the fact that Rocky's okay with him, we cut to we hear a beep, 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 beeping in the wall, like an emergency thing. Burp, burp, burp. It's a large freezer door, a large red freezer door that drops like a drawbridge. Where's my here we go. I gotta explain it. Here we go. We hear the beep, beep, beeping, and the large refrigerator door slowly opens, falling like a drawbridge. Magenta and Columbia guide Janet and Brad away from the refrigerator door just as it falls. Actually, Frank and Rocky are about to embrace. That's what happened. At the end of the song, I can make you a man, and he's just about to embrace, and maybe they're even going to get a little something action going, and they're right in front of this red door. You hear beep, 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 and they have to run away from it. The drawbridge comes down, and behind it you see a large wall of ice. It's a deep freezer. Inside the deep freezer, about to come out, burst through it, is Eddie, the character I spoke of before. Eddie, the ex-delivery boy, who's got a huge gash across his head with blood, and he's wearing a motorcycle jacket, and he's the leftover from the 50s, kind of. If this place takes place in the 70s, he's like a leftover from the 50s. And he comes in with his motorcycle and breaks through the ice into the room where Rocky's just been born, all the guests are there, Brad and Janet are there, and he gets off and he just starts singing a song. There's no dialogue, he just starts singing the song, and as he does, everybody in the room really gets into it. They start partying Eddie style, even Rocky, everybody starts it, which Frank does not like. So Eddie comes into the place and just starts singing this song. Whatever happened to Saturday night when you dressed up sharp and you felt alright? You don't seem the same since cosmic light came into my life. I thought I was divine. I used to ride with a chick who'd go and listen to the music on the radio. A saxophone was playing on a rock and roll show. You climb in the backseat, you really had a good time. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. And they start dancing. Everybody's liking this thing. And he plays the sax. Down. My head used to swim from the perfume I smelled. My hands kind of fumbled with her white plastic tail. I taste the baby piglet chick and that's when I melt. She whisper in my ear, tonight she really was mine. Whoops. Got back in front, put the hair oil on. Buddy Holly was singing his very last song. With your arms around your girl, you try to sing along. You felt pretty good. Woo! Really had a good time. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Now we're just singing all this. Rick Rapp and Magenta, they're getting into it. Now they're sitting dancing in front of you. Inside the open freezer where he just came out of, they're partying in there now. And all the guests are getting into it. And Eddie jumps on his motorcycle and he starts riding around the place, up and down that ramp. The guests are jumping on, he's causing all sorts of havoc and chaos. But they just keep on, and now Rocky's into it. And they keep singing. Opportunity, I love rock and roll. Opportunity, I love rock and roll. Now he keeps on going. Frank grabs Rocky and he puts him in the elevator. Closes the elevator good so that he can see what's going on but can't get out. He's rattling the gate and Frank gets angry and he walks over and picks something up and puts it behind his back and walks toward Eddie. And then he's still about to finish his song and he finishes singing. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. Opportunity bless my soul. I really love that rock and roll. And as the notes are ringing out from the phone, and Eddie finishes his song, he sees Frank is walking toward him with something behind his back. Oh, that's me. There's something behind his back. And he gets scared because he knows how Frank is. And Eddie turns and runs. He tries to run back toward the freezer from which he came. But Frank pulls out an ice pick. I thought you had an ice pick. No, okay.
It's the closest thing.
It's the closest thing. Okay. Frank pulls out an ice pick. And he whacks at Eddie as Eddie's crawling to get back out. And the place starts screaming. And he whack. And now there's a big blood trail from... Nice. And there's a big blood trail from the across the ice and into the freezer. And we just hear Columbia screaming because that was her man. Okay. So Columbia starts screaming because that's her man. And he just got killed. And so Frank stumbles back out of the thing, of the ice. You just see this trail of blood in there. You see Eddie's body in the back. And Frank comes out and drops the ice pick and looks around at the guests because they see everyone's stunned. And he just says, one from the vaults. And they all laugh at one from the vaults. Magenta takes off his bloody gloves. As they're doing it, you see Rocky rattle. He's very upset. He's just born and he's just seen his first murder. And he's rattling the gate of the elevator because he can't get out. And Frank sees that he's upset. He goes, "Oh, Rocky!" and runs over to him. Diddly-diddly-diddly-do. Oh, he goes, "Oh, baby!" And he runs over to him. And he opens the gate. And Rocky kind of goes up, but he's very upset. He doesn't want to talk to Frank. He says, Frank says, where is it? Frank goes to the elevator, opens the gate, then leans against the elevator. He says, "Don't be upset. It was a mercy killing. I mean, he had a certain naive charm, but no muscle." And at that word, Rocky flexes his arm like that to show you, "I got muscle." And Frank goes, "Oh, quite like that, and sings this song. It's a reprise. We're going to go right in. We're going to end Act 1 right here. When it goes, oh, after Rocky flexes his muscle, Frank says, oh, what's a deltoid and a bicep, a hot groin and a tricep makes me shake, makes me wanna take Charles Atlas by the hand. In just 7 days, oh baby, I can make you a man. I don't want no dissension, just dynamic tension. Janet sings, I'm a muscle fan. It was shot in just 7 days. I can make you a man. Dig it if you can. In just 7 days, oh baby, I can make you a man. And at that, they start marching. They takes Rocky by the arm and walks down the aisle toward the bed as all the guests throw confetti and cheer. And they get into their honeymoon bedroom. And just as the curtain is closing, we see Frank jump up into Rocky's arms.
Frank and Rocky.
Rah, rah. Frank and Rocky, Frank and Rocky, rah, rah, rah. Frank and Rocky, Frank and Rocky, rah, rah, rah. That's what the guests were chanting. Well, all right. That is the end of Act 1. There are only 2 acts, so this is intermission. Just to recap, in case you don't know what's going on, they came upon a castle. The castle is having a party. Frank-N-Furter created a man for his own sexual needs. Upon that news, his old boyfriend, who he used to get half his brain out. By the way, I like the gash. I didn't.
I surprised you with that.
Cool.
I had
That was
to
good.
cover it back up. I knew you would like it.
He came in to try to stir crap, and instead of stirring crap, Frank kills him. And, you know, we don't need you now. So Columbia's upset. Brad and Janet are going to stay the night. I don't know why. That's a good idea. And we'll see what happens in Act 2. I think I need a couple of minutes to just have a breath.
Okay,
Do we want to say some hellos?
Yeah,
You're
I'll
running
try.
all around. You need a break too.
No, you take the break because you're the.
And then because I got a lot of reading in the second
Yeah.
one that you don't have to do things on. Okay. Oh, all right. Hope you're enjoying yourself,
Yes.
folks. All right, I can
Hi
take this off
guys.
now.
How are you? I hope you guys are enjoying yourselves, and you know, in this kind of times that we're having, we have to remember that we just have to laugh and have fun and flow, and not be with the flow, and just try to let go of the different things or inhibitions that you might have. Things like this I'd always loved in my heart, but we're very afraid to do. So in this pandemic, I advise you, don't wait. Let's just do all the things we never thought we would do and see what happens. Because Halloween tomorrow is a very magical and spooky kind of a Halloween as well. It is